This was my first flight where I actually got to do some soaring, and it was the wind was coming in pretty strong, so it required a wire crew, and the wire crew is just there to keep the glider steady while you are getting ready to fly. So that's Dan behind me. He's telling me when I'm ready to go, and there's my takeoff. And now I want to turn to the right immediately because the wind was coming straight into my face, and I want to use that upwelling of air in order to keep myself aloft. And you can see I'm already above the launch. So I took off and I gained altitude almost immediately. I'm flying north and a little bit to the east. And along this ridge there are a number of houses that have a nice view. And when you're hang gliding, you have a nice view of them. So I'm headed north up to this little road up here called Burkhalter Gap. And at that point I'm going to turn around and come back the other direction and stay in the lift band. Now as I make this turn, I'm going back and I'm going into the sun, so it makes it kind of difficult to see the terrain and what's there. But on the left and down below you can see the ramp that I just took off from, and you can see that I'm well above that. Now I've gone all the way down to the other end of this ridge, going the other direction, and now I'm turning back to the northeast. And that stretch is probably like a mile or so. So it looks like I'm maybe 200 feet, maybe 300 feet above takeoff. I'm above the road there and that tower to the right. So the wind was coming from the northwest, so I'm going slightly into the wind here, which is the reason that I'm not, my ground speed isn't quite as high as it was before. In order to stay in the best air for the lift, I want to stay pretty much over the ridge or a little bit in front of the ridge. So if I get too far back from the ridge, I get into some turbulent air caused by rotors. Rotors being swirling air. So I'm trying to keep myself positioned right over the edge of the ridge. Now I'm getting close to the area where I took off again. There's the buildings, and just beyond the second building there you can see the launch ramp again, which is where I took off from. So I just zipped up my harness, and so that closes the front of the harness, keeps you warmer. And as I did that, I lost the Velcro strap, and that's why I'm kind of looking around for it, and the glider's drifting around as I'm doing that. At this point, I'm just about over top of the launch ramp, and I'm turning back around to go back to the northeast. Waving hello to the cars is fine, just don't lose control of the glider. I'm coming up on the launch ramp again, and right now Steve is in his glider, and you can see him on the launch ramp there, and he's getting ready to go off. So I turn back around and go back up toward the northeast. Now if you look closely, you can see Steve coming back at me. He's down below, just having come off the launch ramp. It's about 6:30 p.m. and the wind is starting to die down enough that there's not enough ridge lift in order to keep you flying. So I'm milking it for as much as I can, and I'm going to head down to the landing zone shortly. So it seems like I'm getting a little bit low, probably too low. Those trees are getting too close, so it's time to head toward the landing zone. So I'm crossing over Burkhalter Gap Road, and in the distance just off to the left you can see the landing zone. Earlier I zipped up the harness, and now I'm pulling the strap there to unzip it so that I can get my feet out. At this point I've been in the air for over 40 minutes. It's been a really good soaring flight for a first time. Just had luck to have good winds. And now I'm over the landing zone and getting ready to land. I'm going over the windsock now. I see what the direction of the winds is. It's coming from the northwest. So I'm going to make my final approach from the south end of the landing zone. So one of the nice things about Lookout Mountain is that they have that nice big landing zone, so it's really hard to miss. So I'm going to go all the way down. I'm on my downwind leg right now, and I'm going to turn on my base leg here in just a moment, right there, and quickly on to my final. And at this point I'm going to get my feet out of my harness and grab a hold of the down tubes and get ready to land. I waited too long to flare, ended up not able to quite get to my feet, but it was a good flight. I was fortunate to have good winds, and it was a really good time.